What's up, everybody, and welcome to the newest episode, A Tale of the Tape. Here once again to talk about MMA. You know, we focus on that UFC. We have a big event coming up this week that on paper almost seems a little bit lackluster, but as you really look into it, this could actually be one really exciting fight. So it's the UFC Fight Night, and it's Moicano versus the Korean Zombie, Saturday, June 22nd at 7 p.m. at Bon Secours Wellness Arena. So I definitely recommend watching this event. I recommend always watching every event because you never know what can happen.
I think that's what, North Carolina, I believe it said.
Yeah, it's like
that's cool.
Yeah,
in a weird area.
Yeah, some weird area. Not exact. It was something land, like something that began with a G, like Grove Land or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's North Carolina. That's something. Bon Secours Arena. Okay, Wellness Arena.
Yeah, Bon Secours Wellness Arena. Like you're about to get medical assistance while also getting your ass beat. So I guess it's fitting. So yeah, it's a co-headline event, also with John Lineker and Rob Font, co-main event. But we got to start from the beginning. And before we jump right into UFC, we had two Bellator fights that we told you guys would be exciting fights to watch. The co-main event was Chael Sonnen versus Lyoto Machida, and this was it was a pretty good fight. And Lyoto Machida kind of looked almost to return to form, but then you remember he's fighting Chael Sonnen, and that's a dude who's been washed up for a little bit now. But it was impressive. The thing I liked about that fight was that when Chael Sonnen tried to take Lyoto Machida to the cage, he reversed it a lot. Really? There was a lot of good grappling, but the most impressive part was two individual flying knees that put Chael Sonnen on the ground and allowed Lyoto Machida to get his ground and pound in for a TKO stoppage. So that was an impressive fight. It makes me want to see more Lyoto Machida.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how old Machida is. I don't think he's up there too far.
He's got to be early 30s. I think early 30s. Like 40s, maybe. Oh, wait. Maybe late 30s. I don't think 40s yet.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he was 40.
I thought he kind of bowed out of the UFC a little abruptly. You know? I mean, he did face some losses, but I thought he had plenty more to go than the likes of, let's say, Chael Sonnen.
Yeah.
You know.
I think he made the right move in the UFC. He went down to middleweight from light heavy, but I don't think he gave himself enough opportunity to fight. But maybe he just felt like in Bellator he was going to have more opportunities to win. And it was a flashy victory, to say the least.
I didn't see it myself, but that sounds great. As far as a fan standpoint, I'd like to see Machida win over the likes of Sonnen. I was never really a fan of Chael.
No.
You know, his mouth isn't really backed up by his skills.
It is not backed up by his skills whatsoever. There was a point in time where he was a very significant wrestler.
Absolutely. Very
I mean,
controlling top game.
Yeah.
You know.
We all remember the first fight between him and Anderson Silva, where he basically held Silva down for 4 3/4 of a round until succumbing to a triangle.
Right.
You know what? I watched that fight at this place. Do you remember the Big Dog on Route 1? Yeah. Funny enough, that was the place that they had the last opening of that place was when the Bruins won the Stanley Cup. Wow. So that was one of the landmarks, but like landmarks of that. Or the notable things to say about that place, but that was where we used to always go to watch UFC fights because it was free to watch and you could reserve tables and eat food, chill, have drinks. And I remember watching that fight and we were just watching, being like, man, Anderson Silva's really about to lose to this bum, and then like 1 minute and change left, and all of a sudden he just lifts his leg up like it was nothing. Like he just wanted to see if he could stand up.
Yeah, it was almost like seemed like he was just waiting.
Yeah,
you know?
Like maybe I might be able to get out of this, but if I can't, I already know what I'm gonna do to end the fight, which was super impressive to me. And then the second fight between those two guys was just like over and done with pretty quick.
Yeah, that was a pretty good win there. Like I said, never a big fan of Sonnen. never really liked him against anybody. And I'm a big fan of Machida, so good to hear him.
I've always liked Lyoto Machida. I always thought he was a really good fighter. I liked when he beat Shogun. Put a
and I always loved his unorthodox karate style. Fights very differently than any other fighter. With a crisp striking game. I mean, it's very artful too.
Nobody gets in and out like Lyoto Machida, man. That guy is he's a sniper.
Nobody fights more calm than Lyoto Machida too, I believe.
I agree with that as well. So I look forward to seeing more fights from Lyoto Machida, and absolutely going to be lined up for a quick, I would say a pretty relatively quick next fight, seeing as how he took very little damage from Chael Sonnen, considering he's not really a striker. He really is just a grinder. And then the title fight, the main event, was Rory McDonald versus
Naaman Gracie, I believe. I didn't see the event.
It was Gracie. I also did not watch the event. I watched the highlights of both fights, and this was really just a grinder. Really? Both guys just up against the fence. A little bit of striking here and there, some ground and pound, but it was really just a grinding fight. And at the end, Rory McDonald takes home the decision. And I think out of anybody who left UFC to go to Bellator, that it was the best move for him.
Really? Yeah. He was always up at the top of title contention, but could never, hold on to a championship himself.
He never actually even got the championship.
He never won the belt. He's contested for it in the UFC, but he just couldn't put it all together.
No. And he had some really good fights.
Epic battles.
You know what? My favorite fight of his, just because it kind of felt like it, even though I like the person he fought a lot, I know you don't. So if you don't remember this fight, you'll like that this happened. But he basically embarrassed the crap out of Nate Diaz.
Yeah, he did.
Leg kicking him to the ground over and over again.
Had a clear striking advantage, and could also grapple with him, which was impressive.
And you know what? I find it to be more impressive when you have a clear striking advantage over Nate Diaz, because he's not a power puncher, but I think he still holds the UFC record for most strikes, significant strikes landed in a single fight. He's not punches and bunches. He's just a lot of high volume striker, and a very deep gas tank.
Absolutely, can never take all of his gas. It doesn't matter, and it's so hard to hurt him. I mean, which is probably why McDonald couldn't put him away in that fight. He's
a very. I don't know if he has been put away. I don't think I've never seen a fight where he's been put away. And a big example of that is the Conor McGregor fight. The first one, Conor McGregor beat the hell out of Nate's face for an entire round, landing bombs, and Nate just ate every single one of them,
and never seemed to be truly hurt. I mean, you
just
could
bloody.
see it affect him.
Just bloody, but not actually hurt.
No knockdowns.
No,
I mean,
to the point where he comes back in the second round and dominates.
Absolutely.
Like one of the most, I was definitely a huge Conor McGregor fan, but even for me, that was a satisfying victory. Like, to put him away to the point where he was preparing to tap before it was the choke was locked in.
I don't know if anybody ever weathered the storm better than Nate Diaz in any fight.
And weathered the storm while also staying, like, in the fight. There's people who weather, like, for example, the Korean Zombie. He doesn't get that name because he goes to sleep. He gets that name because he could take a lot of damage. But Nate weathered the storm and put it on him afterwards. So that was also a very impressive fight. But not to take away from Rory McDonald, maintains his title, and like I said, was probably one of the best decisions he made going over to Bellator, where some people go to Bellator because they can't compete. I think he still could have competed in the UFC, but he was just never going to get a title.
Yeah, why be a perennial contender when you could be a perennial champion? He might hold it for a long time.
And he was a very I remember the thinking that he was going to be the best in the division at one point.
Mixed martial artist is what I always liked about him. You know, skills everywhere, never lacking in anything really.
And he was kind of like George St. Pierre's protege, so that spoke volumes to who he was going to be as a fighter.
And always improving, and still is. I think. I mean, you might see him come back to UFC.
You never know. Yeah, and he's a humble fighter, guy who doesn't do a lot of trash talking, just leaves it all for the ring. So if he does come back, he'd be a fighter I'd be interested in seeing improve. So we'll see what happens with that. So those were the two headliner fights from the Bellator promotion. They were good fights, and if you have a chance to look them up online and give them a watch, if you didn't watch them that night, it's definitely worth watching those two fights. All right, now on to the Fight Night card. In the prelims, we have two fights. The first fight is Andre Ewell, and he's going up against Anderson Dos Santos, and this is in the bantamweight division. Andre Ewell has a record of 14-5, while Anderson Dos Santos has a record of 20-7. So we got two fighters with a lot of fights underneath their belt.
Yeah, you know, the theme of this card is up and down. You got some up-and-comers. You know, a lot of guys with just a handful, or, you know, guys coming off the Contender Series, or females as well. But then you got some veterans that are mixed in that you know might not know too much about. But overall, good card. This fight shapes up pretty good. Ewell, whatever. He's got good striking. Yeah. From everything I've looked up on him, he's got a win over Renan Barão. In the bantamweight division via split decision. However, I mean, a win over Renan Barão is pretty serious. Yeah. And
admirable to get a split decision. I mean, you know, you obviously had to endure.
It was definitely a war. His last fight exposed. He fought on Nathaniel Wood, who's an up and comer fighter that I like for sure. Exposed Andre's, you know, maybe his lack of grappling ability. Okay. He's got 9 inches of reach on Dos Santos in this fight, which is a pretty big deal.
That's huge. That's like Bones Jones significant.
Considering that he's clearly the better striker out of the two. Dos Santos, great on the ground. I think he needs to take it there, you know, on the ground. Yeah. Absolutely. And Andre has, out of his he's got 16 stoppages in his career, I believe, or perhaps that's Dos Santos. I don't know. My notes are jumbled.
Well, Andre only has has 19 fights, but only 14 victories. So it must be.
Okay, so that's on Anderson's here, and yes, in 11 out of those 16 stops are by submission. So he's no slouch on the ground. I mean.
And it's always I feel like with those fights, when you have a striker versus submission artist, it's really like a coin flip. Like who's more prepared for this fight, and it will come down to exactly that.
Especially how I said that Andre's grappling was a little exposed in his last fight by Nathaniel Wood. This is looking like either a first-round KO or a first-round submission, depending on who you want to pick.
And you know what? For a fight like this, you know, especially early prelims, if you can end a fight fast and you can end it handedly, that's only going to move you up into the card the next time you get to fight. And that's what both these guys are fighting for, is a chance to not be on the early prelims, but at the very least to be on the prelims.
Oh, right. Not just a win, but, you know, a pointed win. Yeah. So you can move yourself up, for sure.
Well, based on what you're saying, I think I got to go Anderson Dos Santos.
It looks that way. Absolutely between the skill set. But, you know, I think I'm going to go with Andre Ewell with that 9 inches of reach. He's got good striking.
And if Anderson doesn't have the striking to get into the takedown,
he's got to get in to get him. Yeah. Whereas Andre just got to stand in front of him to punch him. So I think we might be looking at a first-round KO here. I'm going with Andre on this one.
All right, we got a split decision right now. We'll see who's right come Saturday night. All right, on to the next fight, which before Before today, I didn't think nothing of it, but now, as we've talked about it today before the show, I'm actually excited about this fight. We have Deron Winn at 5-0 going up against Eric Spicely, who's 12-4 in the middleweight division. And you was telling me a little bit about this Deron Winn guy.
Yeah, he's a protege of Daniel Cormier, who's one of my favorites. So
one of the best wrestlers who's ever fought in the UFC.
He almost made the American Olympic team in 2016, so he's got his wrestling chops himself. Okay. Maybe not DC level, but yeah. He's trying to be. Short career, burst right into the UFC.
Yeah, 5-0 record.
5-0 record. He's got 4 stoppages in a decision, 4 stoppages all in the first round.
Wow.
I mean, and his last decision was against UFC veteran Tom Lawler, which is he won a unanimous decision there. So I mean, that's no slouch of a fighter there. So he's been tested as well. His gas tank is good. His wrestling is incredible, and he's got decent boxing to go with it.
Well, that makes me excited because Eric Spicely is a fighter I know a good amount about. He was on The Ultimate Fighter. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist. This dude gets you to the ground, and he grinds you out, and then he submits you. Before entering The Ultimate Fighter, he had never had to go out of the first round, all first round stoppages by submission. And then I think he had one fight that ended up going into the second round, but he still got the submission in the Ultimate Fighter. And then he did get stopped before the finale. I think he made it to the semifinals, and then he got finished. And I mean, it was no easy fought fight. And I'm excited because you got a wrestler versus a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist. So this fight's definitely going to most likely go to the ground, and it's going to be who has the better technique.
Right. I mean, Deron obviously wants to put you on your back, but, wants to ground and pound you. And that's always a thing with a good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist, because if you're not careful, he's gonna tap you right when you take him down. Spicely will be just as comfortable on his back as he will be on top,
and maybe even more comfortable on his back. I mean, a lot of times those Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys they'll grab you and bring you down into their guard. So this fight could be like a very exciting chess match on the ground. If you understand fighting, just because guys are grappling on the ground does not mean it's a boring fight if you understand fighting.
Absolutely.
And I think this has the potential to be one of the grappling exchange that we could be talking about.
I think possibly we might get to see more striking from Deron Winn than we've seen in any fight previous. I think it would be a good chance for him to test it out, honestly. Spicely is a good striker.
Yeah.
He's 9 inches taller than Winn, but only has a 2-inch reach in this fight, which seems strange.
It seems exceptionally strange. So,
but I don't know if he can use it with only being 2 inches, and Deron wants to close the distance, whether he wants to punch or grapple. Hats off to Spicely stepping in on only 5 days' notice, replacing Bruno Silva who had an undisclosed injury.
That's a big deal. Like, some people think you're a fighter, but nah, man. You step in on 5 days' notice. That's not a lot of time to prepare for a fighter. This gives me a lot of respect for Eric Spicely.
Yeah, and I believe Bruno Silva was stepping in just as of like 2 weeks ago for the original opponent who was injured. So I mean,
wow.
This is a jumble of a fight.
And you know what? That also says a lot for Deron Winn not passing up on this fight, because he may have prepared to fight, but he did not prepare to fight Spicely. So now he's putting his undefeated record on the line against a guy he has not prepared. He's not going to be properly prepared to fight. He might have a good chance of winning, whatever the case may be, but he's not as prepared as he would like to be. And so that's kudos to him as well.
And then with only 5 days notice for Deron as well, I mean, he doesn't even know, he might not even know what he's going to see from Spicely.
Yeah.
He might not even have time to find much tape or film on him as well. So It's interesting for sure.
Yeah, this is gonna be a really good fight. Two people who couldn't be more unprepared to fight each other, stepping into the octagon. I am excited to watch this fight. I hope I get the opportunity to check this one out. Now we move into the women's.
What's our pick on that?
Oh yeah. You know what? I love DC, so I have to go with his protege, Deron Winn.
I absolutely think that he's going to win too. I think he's really ready. I think he wants to climb the ladder, and I think he's going to do it quick. I think look for him to get the win in the first round.
You want first round victory?
Yeah, I think it'll be a TKO, punches on the ground.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that this fight is gonna go the distance, so I'm gonna flip and say decision.
Yeah, if it doesn't end in the first, then it will be probably a dominant decision win.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a dominant victory, but I do think that it's gonna take, because Eric Spicely is so good on the ground.
No slouch, for sure. Absolutely no slouch.
So we'll see what happens, but we both have Deron Winn taking the victory, just at different moments. So we'll see how that plays out. Next on the agenda is women's flyweight. We have Ariane Lipski versus Molly McCain. A nice women's fight. Lipski is 11-4, and McCain is 8-2. So we have I feel like an even kill fight right here. What do you think?
Absolutely. Two good strikers in the flyweight division, both of them. It's going to be a nice striking battle.
I like Molly McCain.
I think, yeah, Meatball, they call her.
Yeah.
Is her nickname.
Meatball.
She's got proven toughness. I forget who it was she fought last, but she really stuck with it. You know, she got her eye bashed pretty good.
Yes, I do remember that one.
And she, you know, barely had vision out of that eye, but really stuck with it and, you know, fought against a hard grappler, but ended up pulling out the win. And so it's good. She's got quite the skill set, I think, all around. But, you know, she's just kind of a plodding puncher more than anything. This Lipski, though, she's got quite the variety of strikes.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the decision against Joanne Calderwood, and she lost the unanimous decision, but showed really good skill set. Mm-hmm. She's on a 9-fight win streak now.
Wow, a 9-fight win streak.
Loss.
Wow, wow.
So
that's impressive.
That says a lot, you know. And she's got definitely the better power out of the two fighters. I think there's going to be a striking war, however.
I'm looking forward to seeing this fight. I really like how the women's divisions are shaping up. I think we've said this before. We're getting more and more talented fighters, girls who are not afraid to get in there and get their faces bashed in. And that's what I think we're going to get from these two girls, is two girls who are going to stand in front of each other ready to bang.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised if we had a finish in this fight. We do, you know, it's usually, if it's not a submission, it's usually a decision.
Right.
But I think that there's a possibility for a finish in this fight.
It's possible. I think if anybody, it'll be Lipski, because I said she possesses the better power.
Yeah.
And Molly tends to be a little flat-footed, you know, and can be tagged, been proven to be tagged a little easier, you know, so... If anything, if it'll be a stoppage, it'll be early. But I think Ariane takes this one for sure.
You know what? I like the Meatball, and where she only has 2 losses on her record, I would like to see her continue the win she has. Even though Lipski has a 9-fight win streak, I'd like to see the Meatball in that streak. So I'm just gonna give it to her on pure fandom. All right. Now we have what could shape up to be a very exciting fight. This is a heavyweight fight where we were surprised by the names of these fighters. We thought that maybe there was an accidental switch. We know that there wasn't, but it just seemed funny. So in heavyweight division, we have Alan Crowder, who's 10-3 with 1 no contest, going up against Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
I think that's a pretty good pronunciation there.
That might be my best pronunciation to date. You know me, I'm not great at the pronunciations. I usually try to pass the buck on to my boy Mike here, but he did help me with the first name earlier before the show started.
If it's correct.
If it's correct, we have no clue. It could be like the J could be pronounced like an H, right?
You never know.
Jairzinho?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. We're going to say Jairzinho.
Yeah, I like the way it sounds.
These are two big boys. One of the things I'd like to note is that Alan Crowder won his last fight by disqualification against Greg Hardy, the former Dallas Cowboy defensive lineman. He hit him with an illegal knee, and they called the fight. So his last victory, not actually a victory.
No.
So
and Hardy was winning that fight handedly.
Handedly, he was putting the beat down on your boy Crowder, and so this fight might be like, you better win this fight or else. So I'm excited to see what happens. What do you think about this fight?
I think this is fireworks. We got two knockout artists. Crowder with bad cardio. Never seen him be able to go the distance. Comes from the Contender Series.
Yep.
I don't believe he was a winner, though.
Oh, really?
I don't think so. I think he might have got his contract afterwards.
Maybe like maybe stepped into a fight.
Stand-in fighter.
Oh, okay.
He's got good top control, but like I said, with the bad cardio, that's not great at heavyweight.
Yeah, if you can't put the fight away once you get that top control, then. But Rosenstruck 7-0.
7-0, 6 KOs, 5 of them in the first round.
Whew.
But with notoriously bad takedown defense.
Oh.
Now, I think Crowder's smartest decision would be to take him down with that good top control of his and try to rain some power down, because that power punching as a heavyweight really translates to ground and pound.
Yeah.
A couple good shots from the top is the end of somebody's night.
But nothing is more dangerous than trying to shoot on a heavyweight. You go in for that shoot, you can catch a knee, you can catch an uppercut. A lot of things can happen. So,
and any one flush strike at that weight for any of these guys is going to put a guy, for either of these guys is going to put anybody to sleep.
Yeah.
So
don't
blink.
Don't blink. Make sure you're watching every second. This fight, it could be a slugfest. It could be a grinder. It could be a zombie matchup. This fight, when it comes to heavyweights, especially guys you don't know a lot about, you never know what to expect, and it's always exciting. I feel like it's very rare to have like an absolutely boring heavyweight fight.
I don't think there's ever a bad heavyweight fight. Just to see how hard these guys hit each other. Even when they don't go to sleep, you're amazed.
Yeah, it's even more amazing when they don't get knocked out.
So the longer it lasts, the cooler it is. I think Crowder knows his cardio is bad, so he tries to put them bombs on you early. So that makes for, excitingness too. And Jairzinho with the 5 out of 6 KOs being in the first round, somebody's going to bed first round in this one.
Absolutely. I find it hard to believe anybody makes it out of the first round of this fight. But for me personally, just because I love his name, I think Rosenstruck is
I'm going with that too.
Rosenstruck, absolutely.
I mean, more based on these first round KOs, but that name doesn't hurt him.
The name does not hurt him, and based on his profile picture, man, he looked like he got a nice little reach to him. So I'm excited for this fight. I don't think fight of the night, but it's never not a possibility.
Right, and could it absolutely be knockout of the night?
Oh, there you go, knockout of the night, maybe. All right, on to this next fight, which I am less familiar with, is Matt Wyman, who's 16-7, going up against Luis Pena, who is 6-1. Oh wait, Luis Pena, is that that's the
the violent Bob Ross?
The violent Bob Ross, or as I like to call it, Hispanic hillbilly.
Yeah.
Actually, looking at this fight, this looks like it could be an interesting one. What do you think?
It's very interesting. We got, Matt Wyman. He's an experienced guy, journeyman fighter. Never really made it past the middle, of contention.
Of the pack,
Pena up and coming, only 6-1, only 7 fights. He was favored to win the Ultimate Fighter 27, I believe, but he was injured during the show. Couldn't continue. Ended up getting a contract at the finale, I believe, and he tried featherweight after that, but missed weight, but won the fight that because his opponent would decided to contest it anyways.
Yeah.
And they fought.
Yeah, because if you're the contender, you want to take that fight, because if you win, you get the big payday, and if you lose, you get a chunk of the winner's payday.
Right. So it don't hurt you either way.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
I mean, and they give you quite the bonus when so that's pretty nice. Especially if you could put on Fight of the Night. Ooh. In a fight like that, you get his bonus too.
Yeah, exactly. So this could be.
So that's quite the payday on that. So it's always worth to take that, I think, absolutely.
Yeah, so this could be a pretty good lightweight matchup. Lewis is obviously trying to rise.
He decided to come back up to lightweight. You know, he thinks he's found his home. He's a tall, lanky fighter, so he's I think he's trying to find out what's best for him. But he's not going to have a power advantage over anybody.
No.
But he's 5 inches taller than Wyman, which is a big deal. That gives him significant reach. I'm not exactly sure, but he's got a great jab, Pena. So, and he's very much a volume striker with some power, but he's accurate. And I don't know. I've seen Wyman been open to accurate fighters.
Nothing more dangerous than an accurate volume striker.
Right, with that long jab as well.
He might not put you away, but he can wear you down. The best person that comes to mind is Max Holloway. Like, he ain't necessarily a power puncher, but he hits so much that eventually you get rocked.
Yeah, the damage just builds up. Wyman, he hasn't fought since 2014 in the UFC.
Oh wow! So this is a kind of a comeback fight for him.
Yeah,
to see what happens.
He's won 6 of his last 8 fights. He could control and get an upset. He's got a good clinch game, good wrestling. But I think Pena, I think the Violent Bob Ross continues his hype train.
Yeah, I absolutely have Pena taking this victory. I think it's going to be a second round.
I believe it could be late first round or early second round stoppage for Pena. I think the volume of the strikes builds up, and he takes it to him.
All right, well, we'll see what happens with this one. Next on the list in the women's strawweight division, we have Ashley Yoder going up against Sayuri Kondo? Sayuri Kondo. This is a fight that I'm actually looking forward to, and I didn't even realize it at first until I went and checked her highlights. I guess I had forgotten the girl's name, but Ashley Yoder is a fighter I really like. She's not necessarily one of the better fighters in the strawweight division, but she's a gritty, hard fighter. Like, she's gonna put it all in. She has some really good grappling. I think she lacks strength, but she does not lack athleticism or a gas tank.
I totally agree about her athleticism, her gas tank. She's in great shape. I think some of these women's strawweights, their record is not indicative of how well they fight, because a lot of them came right to the UFC.
Yeah.
We look at her record at 6-4, which doesn't sound great.
Yeah.
But she, has fought most of her whole career in the UFC.
Correct. And she came from the Ultimate Fighter, and like I said, her grappling skills are really good, and she is on a 2-fight win streak.
Right. So those, those 6 wins are against all quality opponents. Right?
They were quality opponents, and they struggled to. None of these people put her away, and it definitely came down to the end. I don't think it ended up being split decisions. I think they did get the full decision over her, but it was a hard-fought fight, and at any point she could have taken it. I think the thing she lacks most is strength. She is very good at getting girls in the position to put them in arm bars, but doesn't have the natural strength to pull them away. And if she has worked on or does work on her strength, I think that she could be a very dangerous opponent.
Absolutely. She is lacking in the strength department. I think strawweight is tough. For strength, you really got to find things that really work for you without building up too much muscle to put you up in weight, But, she's super skillful, super athletic.
I would say that what you just said, I didn't even think about it. it might not be a bad decision for her to put on the strength and the muscle and then move up to the flyweight division because she's tall and she's long. Right. If she puts muscle and weight behind that, she could end up being even a dangerous fighter in that division.
She might not be able to put on strength without doing so.
Yeah.
So it might be the best course for her, absolutely.
But we don't know. Maybe she might improve and become a dangerous fighter in the strawweight division alone. So
right, she's a well-rounded fighter in general. Got good submissions, but striking is definitely good for her. Kondo, she's almost every other Japanese fighter with constant pressure.
Yeah.
She tends to leave herself open a little bit and takes a fair amount of damage.
Yeah, she does. I've seen her fights a few times. She does take on damage.
I think she needs a win here in the UFC. Her record, looks better on paper than Ashley's, but Ashley has had the better success inside the UFC. And Kondo, she came from us, I think maybe from Invicta. But,
yeah, I think it was that.
But she hasn't done well really in the UFC. And I think she's a little reminiscent of Kovalevich with the squared off style.
Yeah, okay.
Continues to come forward even though she's getting hit, but she doesn't have the power or the accuracy of Kovalevich. So I think look for Ashley to take this pretty easy.
Yeah.
I think it might be a decision though. Kondo's pretty gritty and pretty tough.
If anything, I'd like to see Ashley maybe pull off a submission, but we'll see what happens.
I think that would be a way to finish her.
That would get Ashley some movement and some better fights, and if she can finish this fight.
That would be like what we were saying earlier. A win doesn't just not just a win, but a pointed win to get yourself up further in your weight class.
And to be honest with you, I think for both these fighters, they do need this needs to be a good fight, and and whoever wins needs to get a handed victory. Just because I think that they don't have the most impressive run as a whole, being with victories and exciting fights. I think that they need to make this fight exciting, and whoever wins it needs to really win this fight. Even if it's a decision, it needs to be one of those decisions where it's a hard fought split decision or overwhelming unanimous decision.
I totally agree. This division, these women, I think we keep a lot of fighters that maybe are not worthy of being there because the division is still a little thin in the women's strawweight there, but it's not too bad. We'll see what happens with these two ladies.
Alrighty. I
think Ashley for sure.
Oh, I want Ashley to win. If I didn't make that very clear, Ashley is definitely my pick. And on to the men's featherweight division, we have Danny Ige, or IG, going up against Kevin Aguilar. This also looks like a really good fight. Dan is 11-2, while Aguilar is 17-1. So neither one of these guys have lost a lot of fights. A total of three losses between the two of them. So this could be a really good fight. Unfortunately, I don't know a lot about these fighters. What do you got?
I don't know too much. I know they're both on the Contender Series. Ige, or let's say that.
Ige is good to me.
He won the contract, but then lost in his debut against Julio Arce, who is a good fighter. So,
yes.
Aguilar, we got on a 9-fight win streak.
Wow.
He took a split decision on the Contender Series, but it didn't earn him a contract. But then he came in as a replacement fighter, and they call him the Angel of Death.
Wow.
And out of his 17 wins, he's got 10 TKOs. So he's a finisher.
Okay.
If anything.
So we could end up having a fight that sneaks up on us and ends up being exceptional. So let's see what happens with that one.
We got Ige on a 3-fight win streak as well.
Oh wow!
And he's coming off a submission win in March against Danny Henry, who's no slouch. That was performance of the night for a 77-second submission. I'm not sure what he finished him with, but in 77 seconds, that's pretty fantastic.
That is pretty fantastic.
That's get in there, grab you, take you down,
and put you to bed. Well, then I think I will go with Dan on this one and see if we can get another repeat quick submission. Who you got?
This is a tough one to call.
It is a tough one.
Both of them on the streak, both of them with low losses. Both of them finishers. I think I'm going to go with Aguilar just to be different.
There we go. Split decision. Let's see how that one pans out.
And I think it'll be maybe a TKO in the second round.
TKO second round. I'm going submission second round. In the men's middleweight division, we have Kevin Holland going up against Alessio Di Chirico. Holland is 14-4, while Di Chirico is 12-2. In the middleweight division, this looks to be an exciting fight. What do you got for us?
I think this is. It does look like it could be exciting. Kevin Holland, known as the Trailblazer, stylistically, he's super athletic, powerful, has a varied attack, but sometimes a little too varied.
Yeah.
You know, you see him trying stuff that you didn't see from him in fights before. He experiments on the day of the fight, which is a little strange, throwing in techniques that, you know, he might have only been working on a couple weeks.
Okay.
You know, so but
so he's an exciting fighter.
He keeps it very exciting, though.
And you know, sometimes you just need those type of fighters who are gonna come in and just give you some excitement.
Absolutely. You know, it could spell for, you know, confusion for your opponent, or it could lead to you being open because you're trying something new. And it seems to have gone the other way for Holland.
Yeah.
The latter, you know, for most of his attempts. But, you know, he keeps at it. And he's had some impressive victories. Like I said, his athleticism and his power, if he lands any of that varied attack, you're in trouble.
Okay.
Alessio, I love the name, Italian fighter.
Yeah.
I'm getting more and more Italian fighters, which is good to see. He's not too exciting, but he's super strict. He's the better grappler by far. He's a bit stiff, kind of striking, one strike at a time he relies on, but it's pinpoint. So
I always love an accurate striker.
This could be, you know, the best matchup for either fighter. You know, you got a real strict guy against an unorthodox guy.
I love when they mixed up the stylistic fights with different fighters. So that does make me a little bit excited for this fight. Who do we got?
I think look to Holland maybe to, you know, clean up his game a little bit. He has been exposed a little, but I think with Alessio's, you know, strict and his, you know, maybe lack of volume, that Holland, I think, look to Holland and maybe land something big.
I have to agree with you. I really like Kevin Holland for this victory. I always like an exciting fighter. I like a guy who's willing to put it all on the line for a highlight reel, for some highlight reel contact. So I definitely am gonna follow you up and call Kevin Holland as the victor. I will not pick a round because this is just too unknown for me.
I feel like the strictness of Di Chirico will keep Holland honest for a while, but I think that eventually he'll get through. Maybe
frustrations will overwhelm him,
and I think maybe a third round stoppage, if not a decision for Holland. I'll go with a third round TKO.
All right, third round TKO. Next on the agenda, this is a fight that I actually am excited for. In the women's flyweight division, we have Andrea Lee, 10-2, going up against Montana De La Rosa, who is 10-4. So this is a pretty even kill fight right here. I really like Montana De La Rosa. She was in The Ultimate Fighter. Yep. I think the only thing I don't really like about Montana is she has this like ritual that she has to be full makeup before a fight.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised they allow that to happen, but it's a confidence thing for her. Right. She feels like if she's confident in her way she looks, she'll be confident in the way that she fights.
I remember us talking about her before during an event about the makeup, because I thought that was a little strange myself. You know, that because you're getting a grappling exchange, faces rub against, you know, it's like a foreign substance. So they must make her use, you know, a certain type.
Correct.
So that it's safe for the other fighter. You know, and it doesn't interfere with them in any way. But yeah, if it boosts her confidence and she's allowed to do it, it's the same thing with, like, you know, getting a fresh cut or doing your beard a certain way or, you know, any of that.
All that stuff is what it is, and I But I really like her. She's a gritty fighter. You know, you see her and you think, oh, she's just a little pretty doll. But then when she gets in the ring, she's all business. Like, she doesn't step in the ring to be cute and to play around. She steps in the ring to end her opponents. She does have a submission victory. I believe her last fight was a rear naked choke, and it took a little, little over, like around like a minute to seal that in. She will grind you out, and she also has decent striking, so she is a fighter to be wary of.
Absolutely. You said she was on The Ultimate Fighter. The only stumble, she had to fight your girl there, Nico Montana, on the show. So.
And that didn't work out for her.
She's had 3 wins since, though. Good grappler with, improved striking, but even the last win had some striking involved too, so that was an all-around win. Yeah, I think look for her to take this one. Andrea Lee, she's got a Muay Thai background. She's a good striker, but she's had mixed success against, good opponents who can grapple. She's slowly improved her grappling. It's interesting about her, she went through some of that crazy personal stuff. I don't remember.
I don't remember it, but
she had her estranged husband was a fugitive of the law due to some domestic dispute, and and in her last fight, she was going through a lot of personal stuff, with that, and she still won. So hats off to her.
Hats off to her for fighting through adversity like that.
And being able to, stay on your training camp and with all that going on. So, she's a gritty, tough fighter. They both got about the same experience.
Yep.
But I gotta go with Montana on this one.
Absolutely, I'm same here. I'm going with her.
Yeah,
the grappling ability, and I'm just a big fan of this fighter.
Yeah.
So Montana De La Rosa gets a unanimous decision over here. Moving on to Brian Barberena, 14-6, going up against Randy Brown, 13-3. This right here has potential. I think has fight of the night potential. I like Randy Brown a lot. He's a really good striker, but he's an all-around fighter.
I think, Randy Brown, he just seems like he's got such potential. In every fight, he seems to improve, but you seem to want more out of him.
Yes, I understand.
It feels like he could produce so much more.
Almost like he holds back a little bit.
It doesn't seem like he's changed as much as he could. He's a little easy to take down, I've noticed, but he likes to strike from the outside, and he's good at it. He's got decent power. These are 2 good welterweight fighters, and I think this is a really good fight.
Yeah, this has a really good opportunity to either be ended early or go the distance. But either way, I think that this fight pleases the crowd, and I think it's going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah, Barberena, when he first broke in, they brought him in. They looked at him like a hump fighter. Somebody you got to get through to get to the top of the division. But they put him up against, they put Sage Northcutt up against him, thinking that it was gonna, just to be another win for Sage. But Brian put him right out.
Yeah, Sage Northcutt has been a huge disappointment. He was on this rise, and then after he got beat by Gale, I can't think of it, McHale or something like that, Gale McHale or whatever his name is. Mickey Gale.
Yeah,
Mickey Gale put him away, and after that he went on a losing streak.
And I even saw a highlight of him. He's over in the One Championship now, and he just got knocked out again.
Yeah, he's not even fighting anymore. So this has a lot of potential in this particular fight right here.
Barberena, he went another war against Vicente Luque in February. Lost a close decision there, but like I say, he's got big wins against Sage Northcutt and Wiley Alves. He's an exciting pressure fighter.
Yeah,
hits hard, comes right at you, and I think both of these guys are going to fight like that. And this could possibly be fight of the night.
All right,
it's going to be a tough one.
All right, next fight is the co-main event and my personal favorite fight. This to me actually will be fight of the night. In the bantamweight division, you have John Lineker, 31-9, going up against Rob Font, 16-4. 2 heavy-hitting strikers who I think are just going to stand and bang. I'm excited for this fight, and I think that, like I said, I think this has the most potential for fight of the night. What do you got?
You know, these guys have fought before.
Oh, they fought before?
And it was a crazy barn-burning fight. These are two of the hardest-hitting bantamweights. Lineker is stepping in for Cody Stagman, who is out with an injury, which I'm kind of happy for. Because I think Rob Font would have taken him easily. But this is the setup for the return fight. Lineker's a beast. He was completely wild before it would come out and just throw the kitchen sink at you until he fought TJ Dillashaw in 2016, I believe.
I remember that fight.
And TJ broke his jaw, which calmed him down a bit. So now he's just super aggressive and not a wild man, you know, like, but he's still as aggressive as any fighter.
And that's dangerous when you got a guy who's aggressive like that, man. Sometimes it throws you off, and you know you end up getting caught.
Yeah, Rob Font, same thing. KO power, good submission.
Big KO power,
good submissions, and comes forward. It should be just like the first fight. They're gonna throw bombs the whole time.
I definitely think we're looking at like a stand and bang situation.
If anything, you know, Font is a little better in the age department. Lineker's a veteran. He's got, you know, 40 fights to his total.
I know, it's crazy.
31 wins. Fights. Yeah. I don't know. I can't really call this one. I don't know who's gonna win. I
have Rob Font easy. I definitely think Rob Font takes this in the second round. I think he takes the first round to figure out Lineker's aggression, and then I think he puts him away in the second round.
Yeah, I can agree with that, because Font is definitely a little bit more of the put-together fighter, a little smarter.
Yeah.
Little.
I think his combinations are more crisp. So.
And yeah, maybe look for him to catch Lineker in the opening being too aggressive.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. Maybe
like a nice little overhand right.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. But this definitely has Fight Night potential. And like I said, this is my favorite fight to watch out for. Like I said, before we started talking about this fight, I was worried that this was going to be a not exciting card. But the more I looked at it, the more we've talked about it, I realized that this card has way more potential than it really originally looks like. And now, the main event in the featherweight division, Renato Moicano, who is 13-2-1, going up against Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie, 14-5. And can I say that when I saw this at first, because I know he's the Korean Zombie, but I guess I may have never paid much attention to his fights, that he only has 5 losses.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
That is crazy.
You would think with a name like Korean Zombie, he'd be like 14-9.
Yeah, but I think it's just, you know, the way that he can plod through anything. He'll go for just on instinct out of nowhere, you know. He's had quite the weird up and down career to me, but yeah, I would have thought he had more losses too. But he's been out for a lot here and there.
Yeah, and exactly, because you don't see him fight a lot, to the point where I didn't even know he fought. I didn't even know he was still fighting, and I remember him fighting a while ago. Oh, yeah. So like this 14-5 record has been stretched out over at least a decade. Yeah,
he came over, you know, to the WEC back in the day before it was absorbed by the UFC. He fought Leonard Garcia, I believe it was, and he lost a decision there, and then it was absorbed by the UFC, and they had a rematch, and that was one of my favorite fights because he tapped Leonard Garcia in the twister, which, if anybody knows about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you don't see that. It's the only one ever in the UFC.
I've never even heard of it.
It's a very strange submission where you have a person's hips controlled from the side, and you twist them from their upper body, and really you're just cranking their spine in a twisting motion. It's hard to pull off because it's hard to get somebody in that position, but to find yourself there is quite embarrassing.
Yeah.
And yeah, Leonard Garcia will never live that down for the rest of his life.
Man, I'm gonna look up that fight just so I can see that submission. I've never heard of it, never seen it before.
The twister is not something easily pulled off. You actually use a half guard control from the back. Say I'm controlling the right leg from the back.
Yeah.
I'll have it completely guarded in between my legs, and I'll be pulling his upper body to the left, away from him, while I'm pulling his right hip the opposite direction.
Oh.
So, you know, pulling your upper body this way while pulling your lower body down.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That does seem like a taxing submission, but it does seem like an odd submission to get put in.
Because how do you get in half guard on the back?
Yeah.
You know, it's strange. But
wow.
Also, he had one of my favorite fights years ago in 2012. I think it might have been the best fight of 2012. Him and Dustin Poirier went in a 5-round main event decision on a fight night, and it was incredible.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Man, I don't remember that fight. Maybe I didn't see that fight either. I feel like I've seen him fight twice. I just don't remember who he fought. And I've always just been in awe of his ability to absorb punches and maintain the ability to continue to fight. And he is one of the best to do that, right. You know, to be able to take punches and just keep swinging.
And that's where it gets the name, I think. I mean, that was, like I said, though, that was 2012, and that put him in place for a title shot against Jose Aldo, who was the champ at the time. And he was doing all right. Aldo, you know, was definitely outclassing him. And then in, like, I think it was the 4th round, he dislocated his shoulder. And that he's continued to fight, however.
Wow.
But Aldo stopped him shortly after that because he couldn't, you know, couldn't fight well. But then he took off 4 years.
Wow.
For
4 years.
For injury and mandatory military service in Korea, which is strange, but you know.
And also, I mean, I don't know if he probably didn't have a choice, but admirable.
Right, as it said, written down, it said mandatory military service, you know, so he might have been in trouble if he didn't.
Yeah.
But comes back in 2017, KOs Dennis Bermudez, and then takes 2 more years off out of nowhere for injuries. And he came back in November against Yair Rodriguez, and he looked like the old Korean zombie with forward motion and lots of volume striking. And you know,
did he win that fight?
Yeah, he
he beat
did.
Yair Rodriguez, huh?
So
wow.
It'll be nice to see him back.
Now, what do we got for Renato Moicano? I know that the last time he fought was against Jose Aldo.
Yeah, he did get stopped in the 2nd round against Aldo. I don't think it's too indicative of how the fight was going. I think he was kind of doing well from the outside. That's kind of his game, you know, lengthy striker from the outside. He came into the UFC in 2014, huge hype in his debut. Can't remember who he fought in the debut, but got a nice win. Then slowed down due to injuries. I think one decision victory in 2 years from then.
Wow.
Then he, out of nowhere, they match him up with Jeremy Stevens, who was on the rise at the time.
Yes, exactly.
And won a good decision against a veteran fighter. So that's what put him in the ranks against Aldo in that last fight.
That makes sense.
So, you know, his range striking is pretty nice. His jab is great.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a nice right hand from the back. He's got good leg kicks. His jiu-jitsu is top-notch. I think I want to highlight here the technique of the week.
Oh,
because
nice.
I think it's not such a damaging strike for him, but his leg kicks are fantastic, and I think he needs them to control the range of Sung Jung because he just continues to move forward. And if he's allowed to do that, he's going to end up getting his hands on you, making it gritty, you know, pushing you back against the cage, messing up your timing, messing up your rhythm, and he'll land a shot or get you down to the ground. I think that Moicano will be fine on the ground, but I think he'd like to strike.
Yeah, of course. I think that he definitely wants us to stay standing.
He's got the clear edge there if he stays, you know, on the outside, like I said, but he needs to let the leg kicks dictate that range. If the Korean zombie can just step in his personal space with no answer, then it's going to be a bad night for Moicano.
Yeah. You know, I always feel like, I like that you say the leg kicks. I always think that that's a very strong technique for a guy who has good leg kicks. But I always feel like a fight, and it could just be wear and tear, but I feel like it's not. I feel like a fighter is genuinely successful in the first round or two with leg kicks, and then in the 3rd, 4th round, whatever, they just give up on it. Like they're highly successful with it. They're tearing up someone's leg, and then they stop utilizing it. I always think that that's a mistake.
Right, I totally agree. Totally, because as I said, it keeps your range set too.
Yeah.
You know, even no matter how hard you're hitting with the leg kicks, after 3, 4, 5, you're feeling it. You know, your leg is different. It's altering your movement. And I think a couple hard ones really can change how the whole fight goes. But yeah, why stray away from it if they're landing?
Landing hard.
I mean, it's like landing a good jab.
Yep.
If it's landing, you keep putting it in your opponent's face.
Yep.
Because you're continually scoring.
Yep. So,
yeah. I think if I'd look to Moicano to keep him at distance, use that range, and I think he can outstrike Chang Sung Jung in this.
I agree with you. I think this is a Moicano victory. I do think that because he's going up against the Korean Zombie, it ends up being a unanimous decision. I find it hard. Unless he puts him in a submission, I don't think he's going to put this guy away.
I agree.
So I think that's what we're looking at here. So what I'm going to tell you guys is what I've said more than once in the show this week is that even though this card didn't seem like it was stacked at first, the more you evaluate this card and you see who these fighters really are, this is an exciting card. I say this all the time off of the show, but I'm going to say it on the show now, is that Dana White has become a guru of fight matchups. I don't know why other sports are not coming to this guy and being like, we need you to match up our fighters, because he knows how to put together two fighters who either have different styles or similar styles, but guys who are going to put on a good show. And this right here is, in my opinion, going to be a very good show.
A lot of time, you know, you see the names on paper and it doesn't look good, but you know, somebody's got to start their title run somewhere.
Exactly.
You know? And you got a lot of people, like I said, from Contender Series.
Yeah, up and comers. A lot of up and comers.
A lot of people with 6 to 8 fights only. So yeah, they got to start somewhere.
Exactly. So this is going to be an exciting event. I hope you guys watch. Once again, the UFC Fight Night, Saturday, June 22nd at 7 p.m. Be there or be square. But with that being said, I just want to remind you guys we have all of our social media sites available to you. For Facebook, we have @GymBagENT. For Instagram, we have @GymBag_ENT. And for Twitter, we have hashtag GymENT. Also, our website is up and running. There is not a lot of content on there, if much at all content, but the content is coming. We are working on getting someone to handle our social media and our online presence, but all of those are available right now, and that's GymBagEntertainment.com. But also you can check out all of our shows, be it The End Zone and Tail of the Tape, and next month you'll see The Flex, all available on our YouTube channel, and that's Gym Bag Entertainment. We hope that you guys watch, like, share, and subscribe.
Oh yeah.
So until we see you next week, we'll see you in the Octagon, and this is Tail of the Tape. Have a good night.